Good morning. The date is January 25th, 2024. We're here on a case amending an approved plan development, DCI 2023-00022, extra space storage. All testimony and evidence that I take in during these hearings must be taken in under oath. Therefore, I will administer the oath at one time to everyone in the room who intends to speak on the record. I see we have no members of the public. So this will be my abbreviated introduction. We will start with the applicant's presentation, followed by staff. I may have questions, and then we will close the hearing. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony and evidence you enter into the record will be the truth?
I do.
Yes. I do. Thank you. I'm ready to begin.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. For the record, I'm Katie Berkey of Becker and Polikoff, Land Use Attorney for the applicant. The applicant is Extra Space Properties 2 LLC, the record title owner of the subject property at 9321 Cypress Lake Drive. The applicant is seeking a minor CPD amendment to eliminate 3 single-story previously approved storage buildings that were never constructed, and instead constructing a 2-story, 41,600 square foot public storage building. The previously approved height is not being exceeded. We're not breaking ground on any raw land. It's already paved where the proposed building is located. First order of business, I'd like to qualify each of our 2 witnesses. If I may, we're going to start with Stuart Rogers, professional engineer from Colliers Engineering. He'll be providing engineering, site design, lead plan and LDC consistency, and traffic-related testimony, and has over 39 years of experience in engineering. Mr. Rogers' resume was submitted with our 48-hour letter, and I ask that Mr. Rogers be accepted as an expert in those areas.
Okay, please proceed.
All right, and just to wrap up qualification before we dive in, should there be any questions specific to the operation of the site, we have Dr. Shandon Gubler, PhD, Manager of Development Asset Strategy for Extra Space Storage, with us today on standby for any questions. His resume also was with our 48-hour letter, and he has extensive experience in real estate and development, including pre-feasibility, feasibility, and entitlements of self-storage facilities, and I ask that Dr. Gubler be accepted as an expert witness in self-storage facilities and related matters.
Yes, that's
All right.
fine.
Thank you. So we'll start with our presentation. And if I may approach to give you a copy for the record.
Yes. Thank you. Applicant's PowerPoint is Exhibit 1.
Morning, Madam Examiner. As indicated, I'm Stuart Rogers with Colliers Engineering and Design in Tampa, and I'm representing the applicant for this application. So I just wanted to briefly go over the application. It's fairly simple, so it shouldn't be very difficult or very lengthy presentation. The next slide, Katie's already introduced the team that's here. Katie's here, as well as me and Shannon. The property is located on Cypress Lake Drive, just east of McGregor Boulevard. It's in a well-developed, mature neighborhood with quite a mix of uses. The project has been in existence for a number of years. And as indicated earlier, it was permitted for 3 additional single-story buildings originally that were never constructed. That area is currently paved and is used for parking. So you can see the surrounding neighborhood is quite mixed. There's commercial adjacent on almost all sides, small multifamily to the south, small single family to the north. Little bit of a blow up to the property. One of the things you'll notice is the design of the existing facility was such that the exterior buildings form a shield, so that basically the site is blocked from the activities in the center of the site are blocked from view from surrounding properties by the existing buildings, and the new building, we'll show you in a sec, is proposed to go in the middle of the property.
Okay, can we go back to the prior slide?
Sure.
Do you mind approaching and walking me through what I'm seeing on this aerial?
Sure. So this is the existing facility. There's an air-conditioned building in the front.
And is that interior storage spaces?
Correct. It's all climate-controlled interior space. And then these are the exterior type, the old standard, what we used to call first-generation self-storage, non-climate controlled. And they were laid out in such a way that it blocks the view, acts as almost a fence. This is area here is paved, and there were 3 buildings originally planned to go here, and that's the area now where we're going to build the buildings.
What are those 2 narrow strips? Are those also buildings?
Those are also buildings, yes.
Okay.
So the existing zoning is CPD for this specific use. Surrounding zoning is residential across the street and on the parcel to the south. And you'll see that uses are agricultural, commercial on both the east and the west is commercial. This fits with the low intensity commercial, really fits with kind of the character of the neighborhood, which is very mixed between commercial and residential uses. The property is located in the central urban future land use category, and this category contemplates these sort of settled type areas that are pretty much fully developed and pretty diverse, supports residential, commercial, public, even limited light industrial uses in this area, and the current and proposed uses for this project conform to that central urban land use category.
When was this first constructed on the property? I see the DO was in 99.
I don't remember the year, do you?
Okay.
As an acquisition, this was built by someone else.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact year.
Okay.
It was formerly Storage World, and then
Right.
Extra Space acquired it sometime later, but I believe 99, 2000, following the DO approval, it was constructed.
Yep.
All except for the 3 buildings
Correct.
in the middle.
So this slide will kind of help you see those blue buildings were what was originally proposed. And they were typical single-story buildings with, dock doors that open up to the outside, non-climate controlled. Really, markets have changed since this was built, and there's more and more demand for climate controlled interior storage and less demand for this outdoor storage. So the mix was a little off. So that's why the applicant is now proposing the climate controlled interior type storage to bring the mix better to what the market's looking for. This is the approved, the original approved master concept plan, and you'll see there the 3 buildings that were on the original plan and that was approved but never constructed. A few features of this that you might want to note is, from the south boundary, where that residential is, we have a stormwater pond that buffers and to make the nearest building, like I think 100 feet from the property line. And then you have your stormwater pond, you have a 30-foot buffer along the south boundary. If you look at the aerials, that area is heavily vegetated now and provides quite a buffer from the development to the south. This proposal is in the interior, so you won't be able to see the activity from the surrounding properties because it'll be blocked by all those buildings. It is a two-story building like the one in the front, but that's actually lower than the townhomes in the back, which are 28 feet. Ours is proposed at 24 feet. So that area is paved and pretty much shielded from all the properties around.
So the large storage building on facing Cypress Lake Drive, that's a single-story structure.
Yes.
But the new structure will be similar to that, only there'll be a second
Correct.
story.
Correct. And the original CPD allowed for the 24-foot, so we're not going to get any higher than that. So this exhibit shows you the basic location of the new proposed building on top of the aerial, so you can see it. And that's right where the three previously approved buildings were to be, but now it can be replaced with a single building that's two-story. Also note this is a good picture to look at the heavy vegetation along the south that really buffers this development from the neighbor to the south. And this is the new concept plan, master concept plan, which basically shows the same thing. The area currently paved, they'll have to remove the pavement to construct the building and build it to grade. But it's all interior work. We won't be disturbing any new ground. We won't be adding any impervious. So it's really just built on top of what has been used as an asphalt paving area. I would point out a few things that are important that are listed on this plan. If you look at the schedule of existing uses, it doesn't change. The setbacks, buffers, all of those things are unchanged. The maximum proposed building height is unchanged. The hours of operation are unchanged. So pretty much everything is consistent with the original approval. We requested an administrative amendment to the legal description. We discovered when preparing the application that the original legal description had a scrivener's error and the original area was slightly off. So we've prepared a new survey and a new legal description that more accurately depicts the area is 5.39 acres, not 5.65. And the lot coverage from 41.9 to 41.4% is the new numbers based on the correct property acreage. Again, as I mentioned, these listed here are the proposed schedule of uses, which is not changed. And so that, we're obviously listed there as storage, indoor, and open. Just a highlight of the development regulations, the minimum open space of 30, I believe we have 31%. The setbacks are all met and unchanged. There was a previously approved deviation that we could be 6 feet from the water body instead of 25. We plan to bring that deviation through. That really applies to an existing building on the most southernmost building that exists. I believe it's building number 9. And that building is built, so we want to carry through that deviation that was previously approved. Maximum building height, 25 feet, as discussed earlier, and a coverage of 41.4% as well. The project does comply with the LEE plan, and we've listed the pertinent policies here of the LEE plan that apply and that were compatible. The future land use category has been discussed. We've also discussed the land development regulations. The property has been designed to shield from abutting uses, has all the proper open space, setbacks, building heights, all of those are consistent. As far as traffic goes, we did a traffic impact statement, and the project generates less than 100 additional trips. I think it's actually 28. And the surrounding system has enough capacity, so this will not provide any adverse impacts to traffic in the area. Property is served by utilities. There's a bus stop down the road. There's a sidewalk to get to the bus stop. It's already served with with emergency service medics, fire station, et cetera. So that's all consistent as well with the comp plan. Another policy we mentioned already requires 30% open space, and we're providing 31% open space. So based on that, the plan is compliant with the LEED plan. As mentioned before, there are 2 deviations we're carrying through. One was for the 25-foot setback from building structures to water bodies. Is actually our stormwater pond that's in the back. And as mentioned before, Building 9 is already constructed 6 feet, as was approved with this deviation in the original zoning resolution. Also, there was a resolution, deviation granted in the original application for the location of the driveway to be 65 feet from one direction and 273 feet in the other. That was approved originally. We don't carry that through. Obviously, the property is going to use the same entrance as was previously approved, constructed, and is operating. There are a few new deviations requested, some of these by rules that apparently changed in the interim. One of them, the planting deviation number 3, we seek relief from the planting requirements for what's called building perimeter plantings, which are the plantings right up next to the slab. As you know, most of these buildings have access all the way around from vehicles. So we really can't plant those areas and still provide access into the units. And so we're requesting relief from the requirement to plant around each of these buildings around 3 sides. Deviation 4 seeks relief from section 10610E, which requires interconnections between adjacent properties. This deviation would really be required if you modified, would be for new projects or projects that were modified by increasing density or intensity of 50% or more. We're only increasing it roughly 25%, so we really wouldn't be required to do this. The other thing is it's a secure facility, and all the facilities around are constructed. There's really no way to modify the infrastructure to provide interconnections.
That's a common deviation for self-storage facilities anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And deviation 5 is virtually almost the same, but the same concepts apply. So, and then 6 has to do with the square feet of garbage and recyclable storage area. Because the facility doesn't allow customers to use the garbage and the recycled storage areas, it really isn't necessary to provide the 961 square feet. That's computed by the square footage of all those buildings, and just really based on the operation of the employees there that use the trash. So, and it's been in operation like that for years and seems to work just fine. So those are the new deviations we're requesting. Staff has recommended approval with a number of conditions. We agree with the conditions. One of them relates to one of the deviations as far as the building perimeter plantings, and it basically requires us to plant 9,000 square feet. That's number 8 of building perimeter planting area abutting the 2 really buildings that sort of are more public facing. That's the front building along Cypress Creek Drive and the building number 9, which is to the south.
So you're going to be enhancing the buffer along
Yeah.
Cypress Lake Drive?
Yeah, so the requirement is that 9,000 square feet has to be around that front building and in the back building. So.
And the back building is the one that faces that open space, water management, preserve area?
Correct.
So you'll be enhancing the vegetation back there?
Yeah, we'll have to actually verify that it meets the original requirements, and if it doesn't, we'll have to beef it up to make sure it does. So those are the conditions. As I said, we agree with all those conditions. They're fairly consistent with what's already happening there, so nothing there. So the conclusion, and actually consistent with what the staff report said, that the project does comply with the LEED plan. It meets the LDC and other regulations. It is compatible with existing and planned uses in the surrounding area. Provide existing access to support sufficient access, and the expected impacts on transportation facilities, if any, should we discover any, but I don't think we will be addressed at time of development order. It will not adversely affect environmentally critical sensitive areas. All the improvements are on existing paved areas. Will be served by adequate urban services and is appropriate for the proposed location. So with the conditions, I think that provides sufficient safeguards to offset the deviation requests and are reasonably related to the impacts and the public's interest. Each requested deviation has been reviewed and approved by staff and enhances and achieves the objectives of the Land Development Code. And with that, we would request that you confirm staff's opinion and recommend this rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure. I'm available for any questions if you have any.
I don't have any questions. That was a very complete presentation. Thank you for the detailed PowerPoint.
Thank you.
Is there any further testimony or evidence you wish to put on the record?
No, I'd like to hold for any rebuttal as necessary, but otherwise the applicant's fine for the moment.
Okay, fine. Well, then we're going to go to Beth Workman.
Good morning. I'm Beth Workman. I'm a principal planner in the zoning section. I've been accepted as an expert in the Land Development Code as well as the Lee Plan, and I wish to do so as well today.
Yes.
Thank you.
Proceed.
I have the PowerPoint presentation that I'd like to put into the record.
This is Staff Exhibit 2. The staff report is Exhibit 1. Thank you for that.
The applicant did a really nice job going through the case. This is DCI 2023-00022, Extra Space Storage, Fort Myers. As the applicant mentioned, this is an amendment to an existing resolution that was Z99046. And the proposal is to eliminate the 3 single-story public storage buildings that were approved on the master concept plan, as you can see before you on the 3 buildings right there, and replace them with a 2-story, 41,600 square foot public storage building. So the added square feet will increase the overall development intensity to 118,108 square feet, which is a difference of 19,590 square feet of increased building area. It's the difference between what was previously approved and what is being requested today. The maximum height is 25 feet, and staff is recommending approval. I'm not going to belabor the surrounding uses. I do want to point out that Cypress Lake Drive is an arterial road. We are in the central urban future land use category, which is urban core. Existing infrastructure is there. As mentioned, Lee Tram bus stop is down by South Point and Cypress Lake Drive, which is just to the east. There are existing sidewalks, EMS, sheriff, there's a school down the street, Cypress Lake Middle and Cypress Lake High School. There's an approval for 5.65 acres total on this through the zoning resolution 99046. And it approved 98,518 square feet of mini warehouse with the caretaker's residence. So we're changing that and the 40% lot coverage through the ADD that was previously approved because of a Scribner's error that was mentioned by the applicant. So the acreage is changing, which then changes the percent lot coverage. That was all approved through ADD 2023-00080. That was attached to the staff report. So now the acreage is 5.39 and the percent lot coverage is 41.4 because of the change. There was a development order that was approved, as mentioned. It's 99-10-125.00D, and it approved the development of Storage World, which was a climate-controlled building with the caretaker residence, and then the buildings flanking the property line, the two buildings that are lying parallel to the western property line, and then there were 3 buildings that were proposed on the master concept plan to be added to where the parking aisles are here. Those were never constructed, and then this was slated in that development order to be parking, and that development order is attached to the staff report. As I mentioned, the surrounding uses, the applicant went over thoroughly. The AG2 property that's located right here is a daycare center. That's the use on the property. I just wanted to point that out because of the AG2 nature. And for the most part, commercial is surrounding the east, the west, and then the south is multifamily. Should be noted that these units were approved, it's 180 units. They were approved at a maximum height of 28 feet. The applicant is proposing a 25-foot maximum for the storage facility. So that is compatible with the residential to the south. Arterial Road, Cypress Lake, as I mentioned. And then across the street is a mixed bag of single family and duplex in that region, the multifamily RM2. Lee Plan compliance, the applicant went over this thoroughly. It is in the central urban future land use category. That is an urban core setting. That means that there's a mixture of uses and the infrastructure is already in place. So really no improvements will need to be done. This site is currently in existence. They do have water and sewer going to the site. So the infrastructure is there. It is a true infill project. It's compatible with the surrounding uses, as mentioned previously. Through the approval of that 99 development order, there were buffering which meets the land development code around the edge. And I'm going to show you a landscape plan from the 99 development order coming up. So that provides the screening. The traffic, the additional building will not affect traffic because it is an additional storage facility. Those typically don't produce a lot of traffic to trigger any sorts of improvements, but at time of development order that will be determined. And as mentioned, the building is going over existing impervious, so there's really no environmental impacts. The applicant went over the previous deviations that are being carried forward, deviation 1 and deviation 2, so I'm really not going to go over those. And I just pointed them out on the PowerPoint presentation about where they are being applied. The new deviations I want to go a little bit into this, is the 10416B, which is the building perimeter requirements. In today's standard, as well as back when this was developed, it was 10% of the gross building floor area must be provided as building perimeter. Building perimeter goes around 3 sides of commercial buildings. It must be 5 feet wide. And in the original development order, they allowed for, and this is building landscape, is this hatching right here. They allowed for building perimeter to go around this building, building 9, which faced the multifamily to the south, and then also on 3 sides of the climate control building up against Cypress Lake Drive. And so what staff has done with the granting of the deviation request is to allow no building perimeter plantings on the proposed new building, because this is an amendment to add the 2-story building in here, but then memorialize what was previously approved in the 99 through the condition, I believe it was 8. Let me get to that and I'll read it. And that is just saying, condition 8, that the development order plans must depict 9,000 square feet of building perimeter planting area located abutting 3 sides of the existing building abutting Cypress Lake Drive, and 3 sides of the existing mini warehouse building abutting the existing retention area in substantial compliance with the development order. So we're just memorializing what was previously approved and should be in place in the field today. So at time of development order for this building, they'll have to demonstrate compliance with the building perimeter, as well as condition Number 9, the development or plans must demonstrate compliance with the required landscaping as previously approved per the development order. So this is just a depiction of where the open space and where the buffers are. The buffers all meet the land development code, but we want to make sure that everything's up to par when the new building comes in. So they'll have to
You're gonna check
demonstrate.
the health of the plantings, does it
Correct.
meet the core requirements?
Correct. And they'll have to demonstrate that with their site plan.
They'll have to supplement if it doesn't.
Correct, to meet the land development code. And that all ties into compatibility because we're saying that, yes, you have 100-foot separation between the multifamily to the south and where this first building begins, and you have a detention area plus this 30-foot buffer, but is the 30-foot buffer in place? Does it meet the type F requirements? So that all comes into play, as well as the right-of-way buffer along here, and then the type A buffers that run along this sides.
Removal of exotics. If
Removal of exotics, it's just kind of like sprucing up, make sure it meets the land development code with the added square feet. The other new deviations the applicant went through, this is typical for an existing site. This is sort of like an infill redevelopment, so the connection cannot be met with the adjacent property because this is developed, the adjacent property, and then this area is slated, with the parking area. So these two deviations are typical as mentioned. Staff is recommending approval. And then deviation 6 is typical for a storage facility because the general public does not use the dumpsters on the site. It is mostly used for the residential caretakers facility as well as any of the employees that are working with the refuse. So with that, staff finds that this is consistent with the LEED plan, does meet the land development code. Through that 99 development order, they'll have to show that they are meeting the landscape requirements. The existing uses surrounding as well as any planned uses, it is consistent with. This is urban core infill. The development intensity is why we're here, because the intensity of the square footage is going up, and we're adding a 2-story building, which was once supposed to be a 1-story building, so that's why we have a public hearing. And there are no density problems with the property because it is commercial, and no environmentally critical because it's going over impervious. There are urban services. There's a mix of uses, and so with that, staff finds that we recommend this for approval, and I'm here for any ins and outs, the questions.
I don't think I have any questions. Let me just double check my notes. Okay, those questions were answered. All right, I don't have any questions. Thank you
you.
very much. Katie?
Thank you. I'll just conclude by just underscoring the applicant's expert and county staff agree that the proposed request meets all the necessary approval criteria. It's a true infill project, no change to the uses, hours, buffers, or height, no disturbance of untouched land, just going over existing impervious area. So with those considerations in mind, we respectfully request that you accept staff's recommendation and likewise recommend approval.
Okay, thank you very much. The record is closed. I don't need to keep it open for anything. Thank you for a very complete staff report and presentation. I feel well prepared to work on this recommendation and hope to have it out soon. Thank you.
Thank you.